Dara Khosrowshahi, thank you very much for being with us.
Happy to be here, thanks.
So, this could be an exercise in beating up on you. Uber is the company people love to hate. Let me just read a little bit from Farhad Manjoo in the New York Times. Should Uber be kneecapped for its long history of flouting the law, or can it possibly be reformed? Or am I a credulous dolt for even suggesting redemption for one of the sorriest companies ever to emerge from Silicon Valley's tortured hothouse?
So that's one person's opinion.
Well,
But I'll tell you, we have come from a phase in our development where it was all about growth at all costs. And Uber did challenge the authorities because it strongly felt at the time that the authorities were wrong. They were trying to keep the systems as they were and not allow innovation to prosper, not allow truly new ideas to grow. That started, I think, from a good place, but I think it went too far. And the kind of challenger became powerful, and with power came, the belief that you're always right. With power maybe came too much proudness. And we went from, I think, a constructive challenger to a destructive challenger at times, and that required a change, a lesson. A painful lesson. There was a change in leadership, change in leadership of the board. I came on board, and I'm still in the process.
Sounds a little like a mea culpa. It sounds a little like a...
I think it should sound a lot like a mea culpa. Listen, I don't want to beat around the bush. We went too far.
Way too far.
And we grew in a way that, whereas originally, idealistically, it was in concert with where society needed to go, the growth changed, and it became about grabbing power. It came about the leverage that we were able to create in negotiations, let's say, with regulators. And the fact is that our business is dependent on the streets in which we drive and the cities in which we operate. And we do have to follow the law, and we do have to work constructively with the mayors of the cities in which we operate. We may disagree on many, many points, but ultimately we are a citizen of the cities in which we operate, and we do have to respect that.
So, you talk about having gone too far. Again, some describe it, this article and others, it was like a deliberate insurgent campaign to flout the law and regulations and sort of this was before your time. And now, as you know, a new book is out, Super Pumped by Mike Isaac, and it paints a pretty ugly picture of the unfettered corporate braiding culture, so to speak. So there are new suggestions and laws that have been put in, for instance, in California. Let's take the whole gig economy, which Uber personifies, saying that your drivers, your employees need to be treated like human beings, need to be treated like employees with all the attendant rights and regulations. I think you oppose that, right?
We oppose the law. We don't oppose the idea. Let me be specific here.
You oppose both.
The traditional view of work, which is you have a full-time job, you only work for one company in your life, that idea is outdated, right? I think now work used to be about the company. You work at IBM, that's your career, etc. We think work should be about work, about what you want to do when you want to do it. And that's the new way of work, which is independent work or so-called gig work. And we do think that just as society's expectations have changed, we should change the nature of independent work. So it should come with protections. It should come with health services. It should come with representation on your having a right to a voice, etc. But it shouldn't, that idea of being independent, having the power to say, I want to work today, I don't want to work the next day, I want to work tonight, during the day I want to go on a picnic, that should not be destroyed. And I think that the law, which we don't think applies to us, this latest law,
you don't think it applies to you?
Well, we think that we will pass under the test of the law, right? So the law, of course, applies, but we don't think that the law, as it relates to us, would classify our drivers as full-time workers. But at the same time, we do think that the nature of independent work should change.
Because, to follow up, the California state senator, she has said, let's be clear, there's nothing innovative about underpaying someone for their labor. I mean, you indicate that you agree with that, but you don't think this law applies to Uber in all its...
We think that under AB 5, our workers are independent workers, okay?
But they have to fix their own cars. They have to buy their own cars. They don't get
do.
vacations. They don't get health. They don't get.
Listen, they get vacations because they can do whatever they want,
But
right? So they don't the traditional kind of, yes, I've got to go get a vacation. I've got to ask a manager.
Health care and all the rest of it. Insurance.
Well, that's exactly. So we have offered all that up. We do believe that they should get health care. We do believe that they should have minimum earnings, and we want to have. We want them to have a voice, and we have come to the table with an offer to exactly reference the issues: minimum pay, health care, the right to have a voice, and by the way, they can take vacation whenever they want. So we think this is the best of both worlds, and we think that trying to fit our model into the old construct of work, which is one job only, one company only, is actually not the right solve for society.
Right. I mean, it's not necessarily one job only, one company only. It's treating workers as workers and human beings rather than, what's happening with the gig economy. And some people say, I mean, it's kind of what you're saying. It's possible that if that happens with the drivers, I mean, Uber might collapse.
Yeah, but I object to that. I think that we're treating workers as human beings, right? I think the number one reason why our drivers like Uber is because they have complete control and autonomy to do what they want when they want. So I think these characterizations are characterizations with a political agenda. I don't agree with them. When I go out and meet with our workers, they are entrepreneurs. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're earning. And I think this idea that they as individuals are below because they don't have full-time jobs is just false.
Can I ask you something? I'm not a business person or an entrepreneur. I'm not even really a business reporter. But I do understand the bottom line and how you have to have a profit. It looks like you have to subsidize a lot of Uber activities in order to let it happen. You're not turning a profit. And your recent IPO, which started very high, somewhere around 120, went down to half that value. How sustainable is the model?
We think the model is absolutely sustainable. Now, we're in the early stages of building this model. The business, for example, is still growing 30+% on a global basis. And anytime you have a business that has the kind of market size of trillions of dollars in terms of transportation and food and local commerce, it makes sense for a company to invest. The goal for us to go public was to raise significant capital, and now we have all the capital we need to go from a period of investment to a period of profitability. But that's absolutely going to take time.
Why do you think, Uber and the City of London was a big issue over the last several years, whether it was licenses, etc. And now they've given you, I think, a 2-month extension they've just ruled, rather than the year or so they gave you the last time this was under debate. It doesn't sound like a massive vote of confidence, 2 months instead of a year. How do you read that?
I think I read it that we're still in the trust building phase as it relates to London, as it relates to society. I first heard about London not finding us fit and proper a few weeks into my job, right? And I flew out there and I met with TfL and I met with authorities. And there had been a profound loss of trust there. And there's a saying which is, trust is lost by the bucketful, you earn it back by the drip. We're earning back our trust. And I'm confident
I don't think so.
that with work we will earn our trust back with TfL. In many ways, our goal in London is to be the model citizen out there. We actually have now a target by 2025 to move all of our fleet to be fully electric. We're charging a surcharge in London for every single trip that will go and fund a fund that will allow our drivers to change their cars from kind of traditional gas-burning cars to electric cars. So we think that London with time will be the model market that will appreciate Uber, but we've got to earn that appreciation, and I think we're not done.
So you just raised the idea of electric. Obviously, climate, the environment is huge. Where do you stand on, the environment and actually having to really step up now? Not just a little bit here and there, but really step up. Transport is one of the major polluters, as we know.
Yeah, I think we have to be a part of the solution, and we have to be a lead in the solution. And for us, the electrification of the fleet is one part of the solution. A significant number of our driver partners use hybrid cars. It makes sense. So on average, our fleet is more efficient